Hello, hello. Do you hear me, guys? There's like a 10-second delay, so I'll just wait until someone replies.
Do you hear me, guys? There's like a 10-second delay, so I'll just wait until someone replies.
Perfect. All right, so this is my my first live stream, so I was a bit nervous about it, but yeah, hopefully it's gonna go all right. All right, great. Let me see. It's a bit strange for me to talk to myself without anyone giving me response in real time, but okay. So thank you for joining, guys and girls. I don't know if there's some girls. I hope so. And oh, of course, there's Isabel, at least. I wanted to do this live stream to show you what I have been working on in the last 2 months because of this quarantine. So we all have tried to keep ourselves busy. And what I want to show you is all the new things that TDMorph can do. So I have now released TDMorph 2. It's, well, not released, almost released. That's what this live stream is for. And let's go ahead right into it. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the elements container. And I don't know if you are familiar with TDMorph or not, but I will just go step by step so you can see everything that's new on this new version. All right, so let me switch to this. Okay. So as you may know, TDMorph is this thing that allows you to create presets and to control parameters in a convenient way, and also to store a lot of things. I'm gonna talk now about the elements container. The new UI of TDMorph, I should mention, has been greatly improved with the help of Roy Gerritsen, who I really want to thank about, because my UI tends to be very clunky and too technical and not so pretty. So luckily Roy chimed in and he helped me to make it look nicer. So this is super nice. This plus here now adds an element container. So this is changed a little bit to simplify things. When you press here, you have something that looks like this. We're gonna go over all these controls slowly. I'm gonna show you what they do. So the first thing that you need to know is that TDMorph allows you to control things, or it can be really anything. What I typically use for these demonstrations is the noise, because that has a lot of parameters, so that's convenient for us. Okay, in this view with the elements container, you can just drag and drop your parameters. So for example, if you want a period, you can just drop it there, and TDMorph will create a slider for you. And this slider has many possibilities. But let's go with the first two things that are really basic in TDMorph, which is randomization and interpolation. Randomization means just it will randomize the parameter that you have dropped with some distribution, which is defined here. The distribution allows you to change the distribution of the random function. So in this case, uniform means that it's gonna have equal probability for all the values. Normal means that values will tend to be centered between the two edges, and beta means that the opposite is gonna be more, there's gonna be more tendency towards the edges of the distribution. So if you randomize, for example, with beta, you will see that the slider tends more to be on the extreme sides than in the center. And that's beta distribution. And normal will be more towards the middle. And this is quite handy if you want to control parameters with some distributions. I have put 3 now, and the UI is different to help you intuitively to choose your distributions. Now the interpolate does interpolations, so it morphs between some parameter randomly as well, with the same distribution that I choose for the randomization, and allows you to choose some curve. So for example, I can do this morphing with linear curve, which is a bit boring. And you can also do, for example, S-curve, which is more used in animation, looks a bit better, more organic, right? And you have many others. This is quite fun to play with, especially when you have a lot of parameters. And there's two new things here in TDMorph 2, which are snap in and snap out. Snap in means that it will immediately change when you trigger interpolation, disregard of how long it takes, the interpolation. And snap out means that it will change when the interpolation is over, so on the last sample of interpolation. So if you trigger that, it will do it on the very last sample. All right. The next thing to explain is that you have a way to change the time, of course, of interpolations. So let's say 2 seconds. And if you interpolate, and this should be on some curve, then it's going to take 2 seconds or 3 seconds and so on. This is quite similar to the previous version, so I think doesn't need to be much more explained. Here you see some change of the UI from the previous version. The same mechanisms for global and local behaviors are here, and the remorph, which means that you can ask many automatic changes. So I will ask 3 different randomizations, and they will occur automatically. So if I press that, each one of them is gonna take 3 seconds because that's what I have typed here. So there it goes. And yeah. All right, so that's all pretty much the same as with the previous version. It only looks prettier, which is a plus, I think. All right. Some other things to know is that when you reveal the properties of some slider, then you can change various things. The first thing is the range. We all want to rearrange things, obviously, when we play with some parameters. So, for example, let's say that my period is now from, I think it's 0 to 2. Yeah. So let's say I don't want to use all the range, and I just want to randomly search between 0.5 and 1. So this range allows you to do that. And now whenever you randomize, it will search only within that range. And this can be any arbitrary value as long as the parameter that you are controlling allows that. Some of the some of the built-in parameters that come with tops or chops or operators in general, they are not able to do negative values. So for example, if you put here -1, it doesn't matter what you try to do, it will not go to minus because period is hard-coded, I think somewhere in the in the definition of this operator in the TouchDesigner source code, to not allow negative values. But there are some that allow you to do that. So you could do, for example, offset. I think that should allow you to do negative. So you put here -1 and 1, then you can go in the 2 boundaries. So that is totally doable as long as it is not hard-coded in the parameter. For custom parameters, that's obviously not the case, so you can customize that as much as you want. All right, now, something that it was a little bit confusing, I feel, for some people from the previous release is these 2 modalities that TDMorph has. One which is the global behavior and one the local behavior. So let me collapse this, and that's what this little world icon is for. So it says global now. If you disable it, it's local. On global behavior, what that means is that all the sliders that you put here, so let's put one more like this, all of them are gonna share the same time and are gonna share the same transformations when you trigger any of these controls. So let me try now, for example, to morph. You will see that all of them are gonna morph with a duration of 3. I'm gonna change this to 0 and 2 as it was. And I'm gonna do one morph without automatic morphing, so just one. So it takes 3 seconds for all of them. What distribution they use is also defined here. But if you go to local mode, so if you disable the global, then TDMorph uses the local parameters of each single slider. So yeah, maybe you notice now that I have reduced quite a bit the space that this UI used to take. All these parameters used to be in a one big fat thing. Now I just made it in one line, by the way, but they're all pretty similar to before. So now with this local behavior, if you have, for example, a length of 2 here, a length of 1 here, and a length of 4 here, if you interpolate all of them at the same time, they will use the local time, not the global time. So this one does it in 1 second, this in 2, and this in 4. So that's what local is. It uses the local settings that you put here. And the same for the distribution. So each one of them can have different distributions and different curves, and they will just do their own thing independently of what you have here if you have this disabled. So if I do this, you will see they are start to do weird things. And yeah, this is really interesting when you're creating a piece or you're creating a performance, because you can compose some nice transitions. All right, so the same goes for randomizations and interpolations. You can single-handedly choose any slider you want. For example, I'm choosing now just one. Let me collapse them so it's more clear. So this one, you can randomize, you can morph, randomize, morph, and so on. This also was before there in the previous version. And this allows you to lock some parameters. So if you lock one of them and you interpolate all of them, everything except those that are locked will change, as you can see here. And let me change here the curve because that's a bit confusing. Okay, and let's go back to global mode. So you see this allows you to selectively choose stuff. Okay, so far all that was there before. Now let me explain you a little bit about the new stuff, and let's begin with presets. So if you do a preset, then you can do it in this side, in these buttons. They have all now have been collapsed to basically just have one button for everything. And this button is gonna allow you to store things and recall things. To store something, now you have to use the shortcuts. That's Shift left click. So let's say I like this state. So I'm gonna press Shift left, and now you see this lights up. So when it lights up, it means that something is stored there. And I'm gonna do some random, other random place. I'm gonna store this preset. So Shift left click, and now those are stored for me whenever I want to use them. So if I press on one without any just clicking, you can see that if I hover also shows me the information. So this first one has a duration of 3 seconds, the distribution is uniform, and the curve is S-curve. So let's go to first, and it does so using the stored values. And if I go to the second one, then I go back to that state. One thing to know is that it stores the time as well. So if I choose now 1 second for this one will take 1 second, this one will take 3 seconds, because those were stored there. Okay, now a new feature is that you can now lock whole presets. So when you're playing a show or something like that, you don't change things by accident. So you can press now Shift middle click, and this will lock completely that preset and all the associated controls. So you cannot now anymore move things or press anything, because this one is locked. The other ones remain totally editable, so you can change things, no problem. But this one you cannot. If you press there and you morph, now these are locked. That's something new. Another new thing is that now you can jump between presets without any interpolation if you want. So if you press Control left shift, you can just jump between them without any interpolation. And if you press Control right click, you can move with a established duration of 1 second, and that is just a quick morph that is defined by me, 1 second. So it ignores completely whatever else you have there. All right, so let me see on my table of things to talk about. Oh yeah, you can also rename your things if you want, your controls. So if you want to rename this to something more memorable, just press Control and right click. Oh no, Shift and right click, sorry. And now you can name this thing to something else, like something else, or something E, okay. and that has no interference with your binding. Everything will work properly. So you can rename all of them. So let's call this stop 2 and this one stop 3, and that's great. The same goes for the name of the container. So if I'm gonna shift right click here, can call this whatever, fluffy thing, I don't know, and those are things that you can do at will. Another feature now is that you can shift left click on the some parameter, and it's gonna revert to the original value that was before you changed anything. So if you don't like what you did, you can simply do shift left click and it's gonna jump to the original values found whenever you drag and drop these values in here. All right. Okay, so I think that covers the things that were there before, some minor changes from the previous version, and the aesthetic, the looks, improved looks of this version. Now let me get into the exciting stuff, which is all the new things that you can play with. Before I do that though, let's see if you have some questions or if you have some comments so far. I'm just getting handy with these things, so forgive me if I'm a bit clumsy with the thing. Okay. Hello there. All right, so let's see the comments. Oh, nice. Yes, nice to see you all, guys. Great. Any questions so far? I think it's pretty clear because it's pretty similar to version 1, right? Oh shit, it's still playing. Sorry, no, the background music should not be there. Yeah, now I have disabled it. Thank you. Yeah. All right, if there's no questions so far, then we can continue with the new things. Yes, Outteckery is awesome. I always listening to that. Okay, let's go back to the thing. So the new stuff is the following. You can go to, if you go here, you will notice there's these little new buttons here. By the way, if you hover over anything, it will tell you now a little help. That's because I'm using, for every button, I'm using the TouchDesigner widgets, which have this nice help feature. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, let me know if you want me to put the music up a little bit. Maybe that keeps keeps the flow going. I don't know. All right, so these buttons are to display and to collapse things. So let me see. Let's start with the things that are enabled, so it's clear. The S stands for the sliders, so that's very clear. If you press on display sliders, disable it, plug, then you will see that all of them disappear. And you can still control your presets. And in fact, this is what I recommend to do. So because drawing these UIs takes memory. So when you're in performance mode, what you want to do, you want to hide these things so they don't draw. They take a lot of memory. And now it's really much more efficient because they don't have to be drawn and they are talking directly to the presets parameters. The P means display the presets, so that line here. So you can also hide that if you want. And the C means display the controls, so that's the final controls. So in this way it allows you to show exactly what you want at the point you want, and it's very, very flexible. Oh yeah, there's a comment. TDMorph users and Outteckery fans kind of overlap. Makes sense. Perfect sense. Yes, indeed. Very inspired by these guys. All right, so let's see. Go here, and oh yeah, that's a good advice. That's a good advice indeed. So let's not do the music because copyright stuff and so on. Blah blah blah. It was not my intention. Just kept going because I'm so clumsy still with this OBS stuff. Anyways, okay. Now the new two things that are here are this B. This means blending. So if you enable this thing, you will have a new thing. This is totally new. So what this is it allows you to blend between presets, arbitrary presets. So if you enable this little thing here, which attempts to be an icon for blending and yeah, I don't know if I succeeded, but it's supposed to be blending. Then you see these three things here. This little box allows you to choose the side A, and this the side B. So if I choose now, for example, let's go to preset number 1. Okay, now I'm there, and I want to blend it with preset number 2. So this allows you to do that manually. So now you can choose I'm 100% in 1 or 100% in 2, or I'm right in the middle. That's what blending is. So you can at any point choose any arbitrary preset here, and it will allow you to do this blending. All this stuff is, by the way, possible also with code, but I don't know, well, I don't think I will show code today because this is more like an overview, but if you guys are into it, let me know, I can do that later. Okay, that's what blending is. And finally, we have the expert mode. All right, so the expert mode can be a little bit confusing. I hope it's not. When you enable expert mode, you see that there's 2 more rows that appear here. And these have to do with signals. It's because my real intention with TDMorph, or the way I use it and the way I envision it, is not really to only make presets and have something that you can play that is fixed. It's really to experiment and to allow you to find things you wouldn't find otherwise. So it's a very, how to say, it's a kind of a generative exploratory tool. That's how I see it. So that's what this expert mode is for. So once you're comfortable with the basics, you can use signals. So let me see. There's one error somewhere. Nice. So yeah, this is still a bit buggy, so I'm fixing bugs as we speak. Let's keep going. I hope that's not a bad error. Doesn't look like it. So if I enable signal here, you will see that this parameter gets controlled by an LFO, which is defined here. So I'm looking at this row here, signal enable, LFO, and you can see the sources. Now I have a sine, you can have a Gaussian curve, you can have all the basic ones. I can add more later. And you can control, of course, the frequency of this LFO here in hertz. So let's do it 0.1. So now there you go. It's going slower, 0.25, faster, and so on. That is pretty intuitive for all of us, I assume. Now the cool thing is that you can use something that I call syncing. I don't know if it's the right word for this, but yes. And there's 4 modes. There's internal, which means that there's an internal LFO inside TDMorph doing the work for you. If you choose manual, it means that whenever you press the trigger, it's gonna sync to your command, the LFO. So if you see now, I'm gonna press trigger and it resets. Maybe let's do it with a ramp, it's more clear. It resets to the beginning whenever I press trigger. But now the real cool thing is that if you're playing a show where there's a clock source from, let's say something with Ableton, and you can use now Ableton Link or any other clock really that you want, you can just drop that into the inputs of TDMorph and in the transport. That's something new. So if you drop it there in the transport, now you will see that TDMorph creates the things that it needs to create for it to work automatically. So that's bar, beats, 16ths, and the tempo. And now, if you go here and you select beat, for example, it's gonna sync the LFO to the tempo that you provide here. So because it's 120 BPM, now the 1 period of this LFO is synced to the first beat of the what is this? The transport. Oh yeah, so the question is, the internal LFO different than the manual one? So no, the internal and the manual, they are both internal. The only difference is that manual allows you to reset it, and internal has no option to reset. It's just like whatever goes, goes. So that's the difference. And with beats, whenever you change the beat, this is relative to a period. So if you do, for example, 2, that will mean that 2 periods fit in 1 beat. Oh, sorry, no. 1 period fits in 2 beats, the other way around. So 1 period fits in 2 beats, and it will quantize it. So that means that it's gonna wait for the first beat to do the synchronization. So let me do it again and see how this thing flashes a little bit. Let me get rid of this error that's annoying me here. What is this? Okay, no, yeah, that's too much work for now. Yeah, it's no problem really. Let's just keep going. So if you do now 3, so that means one period fits in 3 bars, it will wait until it reaches the beginning of the transport here to start the synchronization. So it's always gonna be now on sync. So if I do 5, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. As you can see now it's one period every 5 bars. I hope that's clear. You still can alter the hertz if you want. This is something I didn't want to take away from this because I think experimentation is cool. Sometimes errors lead to weird things. So you can still do this, for example. To reorder the parameters. You mean these things? Yeah, the parameters are not reorderable. The presets are though. But yeah, I could allow you to reorder if you want. That's a good feature to do. And yeah, at the end of this first part, I'm gonna give you a link so you can post suggestions, because that's really always very helpful. All right. Then the next option is bar. So bar is very similar to beat, but instead of being the beat of the transport, it's the bars of the transport. So if you say 2, that means that one period is gonna fit in 2 bars of the clock. So yeah, it's quite the same, but for a larger time scale, so for a bar. All right, that I think is pretty straightforward because we're all very used to work with LFOs. Now for the real thing that I'm very excited about is the second mode of signal, which is patterns. So let me show you this. If you press here and you choose pattern, pattern is something that I have, well, I wouldn't say I came up with it myself, but it's like a idea I took from SuperCollider, the SuperCollider programming language, and this is to generate values on demand. So let me do a demonstration with it. So if you choose a pattern, you see that the sources change. So here now we have some other different sources. It's not anymore LFOs, and all of them I have named them exactly as they are named in the SuperCollider programming language. So for example, the one that I want to explain now is psec. Psec means just the sequence, and as you can see here, the sequence is 0.2, 0.25, 0.5, and 1. So whenever I trigger the pattern, it's gonna go over this sequence infinitely. So if I trigger again, see what happens to this slider. 0.5, because that's the second item. Trigger again, 1. If I continue to press it, it's gonna cycle around. So 0.25, 0.5, 1. So this allows you to create any arbitrary list here and have your sequences in the way you want them. So you can change things on demand. Okay, there's another bug I see somewhere here. Okay, noted. Then this should also work for the beats and bars. So if I choose beat, let me see if it's gonna work, or is still buggy here. Still buggy, still buggy. Okay, let me see if I can fix this quickly. Here. Oop. Here. Let's see what's the problem. What's the problem? Signals, parameters. Okay. Okay. Internal, yeah. Okay, not something I can immediately see. Well, the idea is that whenever there's a beat, in the same way as the LFO syncs, every time there's a beat, the next value on this list will occur. So if I have, for example, this list, it will just keep going on every beat. That's the idea. Okay. Now there's a bug, so I cannot really show you that, but that's where I'm heading at with this idea of patterns. All right. There's many other patterns that you can use. The most maybe easy to understand and clear are, for example, prand, which randomly chooses a value from here. So it can be any of these values. Then you have pwhite, which allows you to choose random values between this range. So when you trigger, it will be a random value between these two, and so on. These are going to be well documented, so let's not occupy too much time on them now. All right, and that is the expert mode. I hope it kind of makes sense. And yeah, let me see, is there any questions with this one or any suggestions with this one? Let me see. Oh yeah, so no, nothing new. Oh yeah, how do you delete presets? Good question. So yeah, let me go over the presets possibilities that I did not explain that through. So to delete a preset, just press Shift and right click. So Shift, right click, and the preset is gone. And now if you want, you can reorder also the presets. So let's reorganize this here and here. If you reorganize that, you can press Alt and drag your preset anywhere else, and it will just swap the values. So now it's 1, 4, 3, 2. So I can go to 1, and now I can go to 4. And if you want to delete all of them, you can just press this trash can as well. You can selectively do with Shift right click, for example, this one, or you just press clear presets, and all of them are now gone. Okay. One more thing perhaps to mention. Let's do a some quick presets. So this one, that one, that one, and that one. And if you press this button here, sequence presets, is gonna play all of the presets in the sequence that you provide. So that's the order that you provide. So you can at any point, for example, put preset 5 at the beginning and play the sequence, and it will start from there, and it will do all the preset sequence for you. So you don't need to worry about that. Yeah, so that's what this button is for. Yes, so let me see. I see there's a couple of questions here. The first question is, can you in Gaussian distribution bias it to a preferred value or narrow the distribution range? Yeah, you cannot, but that's a good idea. Of course, we can do that. So maybe I will add some control to narrow the space of search for this random distribution. That's great. Where do I write these things? Okay, let's write it here. I'm gonna make a thingy. Okay, space, search space for random distributions. All right. Yeah, so the next question was how to export and save or share presets. Yes, so in the previous version you had two big buttons that allow you to do that. So for example, in this case, if you want to export this, you don't see them here, but they are all now in this little wheel. If you go to this little wheel, you will see other options. Here we go. And in these options, you have more things that you can do. For example, presets, you can export. So import and export presets, clear presets. You can do some things with signals as well. You can hard sync them all at the same time if you press this. And yeah, let me just go step by step. So to export presets, simply do now export. Then you will get a pop-up window and you can export it here. Let's export it. Yes. And it's gonna tell you, I succeeded. Great. And to import it, you simply do this. So let me see. You can, let's delete these guys. Let's delete also the presets. All right. Let me see. What is this error about? Oh, I think it's, yeah, that's not really anymore an error. Let me just get rid of that quickly. Yeah, let's just do this. Let's go here. Okay, let's put it here. And now that's a new container. And now I can simply, from this little cogwheel, go to presets and import them, what I just exported. So let's choose this guy. And this will recreate all the information you had before. And now it's ready to be used again. All right. That's how you export, and you can share, of course, the JSON file that you generate with peers to have cool stuff. So next question is, when you snap in and snap out, can you also snap at some specified time between? I had this in Mixa and it was useful. Yes, Greg. I think that's something that I will put as well. And to explain that, let me just do something that I did not explain and is super cool and powerful in TDMorph 2, which is that now you can throw anything at it. So really anything you want from all the parameters, it will understand it, which was not the case with the previous version. So you can throw, for example, a toggle. It will make an appropriate UI for you. You can throw in, let's see, a dot parameter. If you throw it, it will create a field for you. You can throw at it some string parameter. It will create the same field for you. And if you change this, for example, now I'm controlling this guy. So I'm going to save this. Let's just delete all of them. And I'm going to save this in preset 1. And I'm going to call this something else, so other, and save that in preset 2. This is about the snapping. So the question is, can you selectively say where the thing snaps to? So for these parameters that you cannot interpolate, so you cannot really interpolate a string, you can do snapping and snap out. So that's what this little menu is for. I also had snap in the middle, but it was a bit tricky to do because of efficiency. I'm still trying to find a way on how to do that super efficiently. So you can choose any point to snap it. So if you have here now this, and you choose, for example, on the end, whenever you trigger a preset, it will change, but only at the end of the preset. And whenever you choose start, it will change at the start of the preset. And okay, so let me do it again here. So other, and this one will be p here. So if we go other, for example, the string changes. If you press this, it changes at the start. If you do end, it changes at the end of the interpolation, as you can tell here. And really, you can throw anything at it, it will understand. There's two things that I have planned for this, maybe it's worth mentioning. One only thing that you cannot throw here is files. So files, I don't think I will add in here. So I mean file parameter. And the other one that I'm gonna add is an expression. So you can add a Python expression that will execute like in the same way. So at the beginning or at the end of your preset changing. And that is something I'm working on at the moment. So allows you to script inside here. So you can type any expression and it will execute at the beginning or end of something. All right, now let me see the questions. Oh, there's many questions now. So let me see. Maybe I should also show my face for once, so you still feel you're talking with me. Okay. Oh yeah. How do you find out what the shortcuts are? Yes, the shortcuts are documented in the help here. So here you can find a lot of information. Still working on it. It's not complete yet. I will complete all that when I release the thing officially. Now it's still in beta, so the version 2 will be released soon, but all the documentation will be aligned. It's partially there already, so I made a more comprehensive list of that, so you could find all the shortcuts there. Mauro asks, is there a way to loop the sequences? Yeah, that's a good one. I think if you do this, let me see, does that work? No, I didn't do that. But that is definitely something to add. So let me add it to my list of things to add. Loop preset sequence option. Yes, so in the other tool, in the extra tool that I'm gonna show, you can definitely do that. So stay tuned for that, because that one is really powerful. But in this one, you still cannot, but I will add it. That's a good idea. Can you align order number of presets when you put 5 to the first position? Can you align order? You mean renaming the buttons, I guess. No, because the way they are stored is by key. So this name matters. So this is really the name of the preset. So you cannot really, you could rename it, certainly. But yeah, need to think about it. We'll see. Other questions. Snap to 0, 1 value. Node menu settings. Snap to 0, 1 value. I don't know if I understand that. What does it mean? Snap to 0, 1. You mean the slider? Yeah, this I don't understand. If you could explain the question one more, Greg, one more time. Then some other questions. ¿Es posible sincronizar como timeline para crear loops seamless? Nice. Oh yeah, he already put it in English as well. Synchronize as timeline to create seamless loops. Well, yeah, I have an exciting thing about that. Just let me wrap these containers, which is the most basic tool, and I'm gonna show you all the really cool stuff that are coming, and then you can do something like that. So I will explain it in a second. And the tempo comes from a beat shop, so you set the synchronicity to the length. Yes, so that's something I should mention. Let me show you. I did here with Ableton Link, but the synchronization can happen really with anything that has ramp, bar, beat, 16ths, and tempo data. If you have all those 4, you can or 5, you can synthesize your tempo as however you wish. Anytime you want, you can just synthesize it. I did it natively with Beat and Ableton, because Beat is the chop that reads the data from TouchDesigner. So you can also throw a beat here. It will work the same. So those two you can just throw and works. But if you really want to provide some time, some strange time or whatever, you can just synthesize your own chop, and it will also understand that, as long as it has these 5 data points. So you must provide these 5, and you can create your own clocks too. So that's something that you can do for sure. Let me see other questions. You have start and middle. So just 0, 1. Yeah. Okay, I see. Yes. Yeah, sure. That's a good idea. All right, so add possibility to change based on range 0, 1. So in that way you could specify any point by %. That's quite nice. Only thing with that though is that I want it to be efficient, so then I don't know how to do that without checking for every sample change. So that's something, yeah, that was the thing that was holding me a little bit about that. But let's see if I can find some way that is not so expensive. Because when you do that for many parameters, like if you have 20 or something, it becomes more and more expensive. But yeah, something to consider for sure. Very good. Sí, se habla español, Juanjo. It's nice to get a complete package, and I have feeling the reason why so many love this setup. But wondering how modular is the setup. For example, the widgets probably take up quite some processing power, so I would like to get rid of them. Yeah. So Alpha Moon Base asks about the processing power. Yeah. All you need to do to get rid of the processing power is simply to hide this. If you hide that, then those are not cooking anymore, and is as efficient as writing to these parameters with a script or something like that. So you can definitely hide them, and that's really, really, really efficient. And I have made sure to make it much more efficient in the second version, so it's much faster than the previous one. And yes, there's some other stuff hidden there that is very deep to explain now, but in a nutshell, it's really modular. So you can put things out of places and it will still work. Maybe I will do another live stream for more advanced users to show how you can use the Lego parts. All right. There's a GUI-less preset manager that you can do whatever you, yeah. Can you individually take MIDI values and throw it in as parameters and then trigger those toggles? Yeah, there is an option to do MIDI learning and OSC learning, which are MIDI and OSC. This I don't explain now because I don't have a MIDI controller that I can use comfortably and don't want to spend much time on it, but this was already in the previous version. So you can easily map any of these things to a MIDI control and it will auto-learn it. To do that, you just press left click, for example, on MIDI. It will start blinking, meaning that it's listening to the MIDI change. When you change the value, it will store it. And then to stop listening, you just press right click and it's learned. So it's really easy to add MIDI and OSC in that sense. All right, so let me now wrap up this elements container and let's go to the second part. So let me see. Okay, the second part. Oh yeah, we did this part already. Okay. So now I'm going to explain you beyond the preset, the elements container. I'm going to explain you about the basic tools that you have in addition to this. Okay, so let's go into it. Yes, so I have this, and if you go to the thing here, tools, you see it's a little hammer, tools, then you press on it, and you have a lot of other things that you can create with this tool. So the first one is morphing timers. This is simply a base. When you select it, it will create a base for you. And the base contains the clocks from inside. So the container one, because I have one container, it takes container one, and this is the morphing clock. So if you press on this, it allows you to access very comfortably this clock in case you want to do something special or particular when you trigger things. So you could now just grab, for example, the done or the ready or the fraction, and then you can just access it at any point with this container. So it's a convenience for you. You can have more than one element container. So if I create another one, then it will make this guy. And if I put here, for example, another morphing timer, now it's gonna give me 2. Because I have 2 containers. So this is the clock from the container 1, this is the clock from the container 2, and it's listening to, it's grabbing from the clocks hidden inside TDMorph. So in this way you can access the clocks. In a similar way, there's this other tool called morphing channels. If you create them, it allows you to access not the clocks, but the parameters, all the parameters that these things are mapped for. So if you see the first one, it gives you the container 1, all these parameters that I have here, and it gives you these parameters here in case you want to do some special expression with them. You can write a script based on some change, so it's also a convenience. And the second one is empty because clearly I don't have anything mapped here, so that's what this is for. Those are 2 very basic things that should help you create more things with this system. Okay, now there's one more thing here, preset manager, which is really handy for you guys who want to use TDMorph but also create things around it. So the preset manager allows you to access the, let me explain that later, it's too advanced. Let's just use preset grabber first. Preset grabber, sorry. So preset grabber allows you to grab all the presets stored in your TDMorph, because TDMorph, this component of TDMorph, so the elements container, is just a small part of the TDMorph toolkit. So inside this guy, there's something called preset manager. And the preset manager is the heart of TDMorph. It's really the most powerful element there is inside. And with preset manager, you can do anything that, or everything that this thing does. So this preset grabber accesses that preset manager, which contains all your presets. So you reference it by putting an expression here or a path or whatever. By default, it accesses the one that is hidden in TDMorph. So if you see now here, it's inside some tables. And these tables, they are dynamic because the parameter dictionary that TDMorph has for the presets, it's deeply dependable. So that means that it will update whenever you change something. So if you look at the preset grabber now, you have two outputs. So output number 1 is the preset number 1, preset number 2. And if I change or add something here, so let's add one more preset to that one, it will create for you another one automatically. And if you remove it, it will delete it. So you can always have all your presets in sync here. And if you are comfortable with tables, you can access this data to create your own applications. So someone who is already also in the chat, that's Johan Baron Lantaina. Sorry about your French name, is hard for me to pronounce. But he made a cool XY slider based on this preset grabber. He has been one of my private beta testers, contributing with ideas and so on. So with this thing, you can build things like that. Thank you. Yeah, my French is not so bad after all, I see. All right, that's what preset grabber is. Let me ask you if you have questions about this. Does this seem useful, or is it clear? Questions about it? Is clear what these basic tools do? Yeah, silence means it probably is clear. Okay. So now let's move then to the next part. So the next part is about the preset composer. The preset composer is something that is new in this version, and is a totally separate UI that allows you to control presets, but in a much more fine-grained way. Because, like I mentioned before, TDMorph is extremely modular, and the real thing that is inside everything is this preset manager thing I was talking about before. So to make that point clear, maybe before I jump into the preset composer, let me show you the heart of TDMorph. Maybe it's nice for you to see inside a little bit. So if I go inside, you will see all this stuff. In the library, there's something called preset manager, and it's with red. And this is really the most powerful object. This is the thing that makes everything, everything work, everything morph, everything storable, everything. So this is the main thing. I have one prepared presentation about this that I will do if it's not too long. This thing doesn't become too long. Okay, and I will talk about this. But if you go, for example, to every element, you will find one of those guys inside, because that's really the heart of the whole thing. And you can even use it outside of TDMorph for your own purposes. So there's some people, I don't want to spoil the secret, so I will not say who they are, but there are some people who are using TDMorph already to build their own applications, and they don't use the UIs and all the stuff that are high level. They use the preset manager to build those applications. And I think they will come soon, and I'm very excited to see how they use that. Sorry. Is it not in the right? Oh, yes. I was talking like about the preset manager and inside and so on, and you were not able to see. That's great. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Rui. Okay, well, the preset manager, like I said, is this guy, this red thing. You didn't see that before. That's the heart of everything. I will talk about it in a second, so don't worry if you didn't see all that stuff. Sorry. All right. Now let's jump into the preset composer. So let's create a preset composer. That's this guy here. The preset composer, like I said, is another system that is built on top of the preset manager. Oh, you cannot see it still. Let me see what's going on. You should be able to see. I think I see it now. Still unable. Can you see the network now? Oh yeah, okay, perfect, good. So all right, let's focus now on the preset composer. So this is the preset composer. I'm gonna create it again so you can see, and let me let me just get rid of all the stuff so it's clear, so it's not confusing. Yeah, let's just get rid of these things, and let's just leave, for example, 3 of those, and whoops, let's leave 3 of those, and let's create some basic presets. 2, 3 presets. Okay, so if you create now a preset composer from here, you go to tools and preset composer, you get a new comp here, this thing down here. So you can pretty much close this one, you don't need that anymore, and you can open this one. So what is this? This is totally new, and it allows you to do many different things. It's more like a queuing system, while TDMorph, the previous thing I was explaining, is more like an exploratory tool that allows you to control things with sliders. The preset composer is more like a scene composition system that allows you to create transitions and allows you to make really queuing. So let me now show you what that means. Because inside the TDMorph there's a preset manager, this preset composer is taking that preset manager inside of TDMorph by default. However, let me be very clear about it. This is meant to be used without this other tool. So the main usage of this is when you're done with this guy, you can export all the presets, or you can just reference it and they will work interchangeably. However, you don't need to do that. You can just work with this one if you want, once you have done all your presets. So that's why I don't need to see that one now. Okay, so in this preset manager, we see I have 3 presets. Those are the 3 presets I created before with this other guy. But yeah, well, I'm still controlling this noise because remember, this is referencing the preset manager that is inside this TDMorph. I could reference an arbitrary preset manager, but let's do it for now like this. So whenever I do here, for example, a randomization, I'm still controlling that noise, as you can tell. All right. These presets are the presets that I defined before. So, however, you see, I cannot click on them now. This column here is just to show you what exists and how you can create new presets. So if I go to a random state, you can, for example, create a new preset, and I'm going to call it preset number 4, and now I have it. The real use of this thing is scenes. So if you right click on this space, you can create a new scene. I'm going to call this scene 1. When you create a new scene, you have this little this little row, and in the row you have these properties. The first one is just some arbitrary name. This name doesn't really matter. You can change it to whatever you want. So you can do that by double clicking on it and name it as you wish, but let's leave it at scene 1. The launch is to launch the scene. The important thing to know is that there's a target for each scene, and the target is one of the presets that you have created and are listed here. So if you right click on this, you will see the list of all the available presets you have. And you can also just type it here, but that's more error prone, so you can just simply right click and type things. So let's say I want this scene to go to preset number 1. And you see that I have some options here: length, delay, curve, and later on action. So length means the time, how long it takes to morph to that preset. So I'm going to select 1 second. Delay is after how many waiting time is going to trigger this launch. So let's leave it at 0 for now. And curve is the curves we already know from the previous two. So all those curves are available here. So if you see here, see the noise, you can just launch this and it will morph to that preset with the specified curve. Now it's linear, so let me choose S curve. So it's going to use that S curve. So let me go to some random state and go that again. Now the cool thing about this is that you can have many scenes. So let me create scene 2 and scene 3. And now each scene can reference different targets. So for example, this one 2. But let's say this one also goes to 1. But now the length can be different. For example, this can take 4 seconds and can have other curve. So that's really not possible with the other two. And now in this way, I can do this. So go first to 1, then to 2, because it has length 0, and then to 3 in 4 seconds. So you can create many different scenes for the same preset if you want, and each one of them can have its own properties. So that creates a huge amount of possibilities to create this queue system. So something that I have added to this idea is the ability to have actions, next actions. And these are totally stolen from Ableton Live. So you can now do an action when the interpolation is finished. So if you choose action here, for example, to next, whenever this one is done, it's gonna jump to the next one in the queue. So I'm gonna go launch this one, and now it's gonna jump to the next one. So, oh, there's a question. Can you create a scene directly into the list with recording a new preset? So yeah, you can create a new scene here, and you can create a new preset here, but they are two different things, because this is just the storage and this is how to recall that storage. So this is like a high level control for the preset. So you can create presets here, whatever preset. So let's say there, this is preset 5, but then how you call this preset depends on the scene. So this is a different way of dealing with the presets, because as I explained, some scenes, like these two scenes, call, for example, the same preset, but they use completely different values to access that preset, and it would still work because the preset is just a storage of states, of values. How you get there is what the scenes control. So that's how this works. Another question, will you be able to sync with external source and choose quantization level? Yes, you can, but let me do that in some minutes. Let me just finish explaining the actions, and yes, of course you can. All right, so now next action. So yeah, if you launch this one, next, because the action here is none, it will stay there. But let's choose next as well, and let's choose for the last one first. So this will create a loop, right? Because if I do this, then go to next, then next one goes to first when it's over. So now I have a loop. That addresses someone's question about how to create sequence loop. So that's how you could do it with this, with actions. And while it's running, you of course can change the actions, right? So you can, for example, choose any. Any means randomly choose whatever thing is in the queue, and then it will just jump to that one. So that is a way to create some generative behavior if you want. And in this way you can, yeah, explore things very, very comfortably. At any point in time you can pause this. So there's this little pause, this stop thing. If I press stop, it will just stop it, and if I press pause, it will pause the morphing. You can change something and you can go back to it if you want, and it will continue and pick up from where it left. So let's just stop it for now. And okay, that's what actions are. Now, you also have the actions here. So if you're here, you can choose the previous one, and it will use the action, of course. Let's say I want to clear all my actions because I don't want loops to occur at the moment. So let's clear all the actions. And now let me just launch the first, the previous one, or the last one, or the first one, or any, or other. You can also repeat the same. And there's one extra thing at the end, which is sequence. This is typically when you have, for example, we all have worked, I think, with theaters and things like that. That's a very common use of such a tool. And what you typically wonder is just the sequence. So you can do this here. If you press sequence, it will just play things from beginning to end, ignoring completely the action. So it bypasses whatever is here. They will just go straight one after the other. And it will stop when it's finished with all the scenes. So that's what sequence is for. Okay, now there was a question about will you be able to sync with external source? Yes, you can. So if you throw here Ableton thing, or like before, a Beat, Ableton, or some arbitrary clock you can create, it will understand that and it will create this transport for you. So now it's quantized if you press on quantization, and it will quantize to the bit that you select here. By default is on 0, so the 0 is the first bit, So if I press quantize, and if I launch something, it will wait until bit 0 to launch it, right? So if I launch it, then it starts. Again, bam. So that's what quantization is in this context, and it's synced now to the transport. Now there are some ideas I have with this, but they're still experimental. This could be expanded because the quantization system is there already to support other type of behaviors. But for the time being, I think I will release it just with this basic one that you can quantize to the first bit or to some first event, because that's the most typical use, I believe. Okay. Another thing to explain here perhaps is that you can also do blending as before. If you enable blending, you can select 2 of the scenes you want, so, and then you can blend between them. So that's what blending does. And blending is because it has to flip how it works inside the preset manager. Whenever you trigger launch, the blending will be disabled. So remember that blending needs to be enabled again, and then you can blend again between stuff if you need to. Okay, so that is more or less what the preset composer is. Let me see if there's some questions. Would be nice to have a possibility to directly record a scene without creating a preset first by hand. Yes, you can do that. You don't need to create a preset. So if you don't have any presets, clear presets, that's perfectly doable. So you can just write a scene, and there you go. You don't need to have presets there. What else? Is there any more questions? Maybe quantize could be closer to Ableton, not quantizing to a target beat, but to a length of time. So you could have quick or long quantizes. Length of time. Yeah, this is something that needs to be thought out. I don't really know what the use cases will be for this, because I personally never use quantizations for my own performances or things, or very rarely. So now it's good, yeah, if you guys play with it and think. If you add some feature requests, we can for sure think about them. That's the idea. Yeah. More things. Maybe quantize. And now just record the preset with the name of the scene you just created. Now just record the preset with the name of the scene. So scene 1. That's what you mean. And then you can, and you want them to be linked right away instead of choosing this. That's what you mean. Is there a way to access the presets and scene clubbed under the main window? Is there a way to access the presets and scene? Yeah, from a UI perspective. Okay, let's first do the question from Alpha Moonbase. Yes. So you mean that it automatically assigns the thing? You could do that, but I don't want to do that because they are 2 different things. So this is really the preset, and this is, well, yeah, you could do it actually, because the target doesn't really matter what the name is for the scene. They are 2 different things. So yeah, indeed you could do that, no problem. That's possible. Let me see. If you create, would it make sense though? Let's see. Yeah. Maybe I will think about it. Not so sure about it. Scene with a preset. Yeah, actually, you know, I think not, because logically, the preset is really just the state. It's just state. So a state doesn't require anything else to exist. It's just the state, and the scene is really how to control the state. So you have many scenes. They could refer to the same state. So like in theater, you could have a transition that takes 1 second, the other one that takes 3 seconds, and they too could refer to the same one with different times. And it's good that they are separate, because the presets really have nothing to do with the scenes. So I think that would be the conceptual framework for this to work. I'm not so familiar with lighting decks. systems. But if you really think it's something useful, then please create a feature request, and I can investigate. Okay. How would you sync this to TD Ableton? Yeah, I have not tried at all TD Ableton with this, but will be curious to try. Yeah, if you guys want to give it a shot, that would be great. I don't know if TD Ableton receives the time, probably does receive the time from Ableton in some way. Then you can just plug the clock to the transport. So because all you need to do is just this, just provide ramp, bar, beat, 16ths, and tempo. So if you can grab from TD Ableton this, then you can access all the functionalities that the transport does. So that should be fine. Okay, let me see. Is it possible to record parameter movements in real time? Yes, I have something for you. Okay, let's say I have this sequence. Okay, something I didn't mention yet is that you can do from both, from TDMorph and Preset Composer, you can go here into the cogwheel, go to animation, and just say create animation. If you create an animation, it will make a file for you. Well, this one seems to not like it. Let me see if this one doesn't fail. If you go here and say preset animator, yes, oops, wait, preset animator, then you have this box here, and the box contains all the stuff that you stored. So once you do here create animation, it should create all the channels. And now, of course, because I'm showing you, it decided not to work. That's awesome. Let me see if this one does. Yes. Okay, this one does. So here are all the animations. Oh shit, again. Whoop. Sorry again. I'm gonna wait until the delay catches up so you can see. Yes, I think now it's there. Oh, I'm so bad with this thing. Okay. Here we go. There's the animation, and now you can, if you press create animation, it will make an animation out of the scenes that you have. And here you can, it's just inside a normal animation comp. So if you're comfortable with that, that's all it is. And then you can edit the animation. So you have now all the scenes in here ready to be edited, and you can create your arbitrary things, modify them, right? And this doesn't really have any interference with the system because it's separate. And now if you press active, if you activate it, it will control all the parameters in the way that are defined in this animation. And this is by default linked to the clock, to the timeline. But yeah, if you are comfortable with this, you know that you can provide segments, you can provide your own clock here. So in this way, it's super easy to create, for example, your deck with all the scenes and export all the scenes as an animation if you want to fine-tune things or if you want to create specific behavior. And the same from this guy, from the element container. You can just do a preset animator, preset animator, and create the animation from all the presets that are here, that you store here. So that's it. That's how you can create these animations. I don't know if that relates. I think it relates to the question by Juanjo. Is it? Okay, let me see the chat again. So parameter movements in real time. Yeah, you can easily record the parameters movement in real time with a record chop, for example, because you can access them from here, from the morphing channels. So I provided this little thing, and if you access, all the parameters are here, so you can just record them. If you put here a record chop or something, you can just record them. So that's no problem. Oh yeah, Ivan, talking about TD Ableton. I don't really know much about TD Ableton, I must say, so I cannot really answer. As in the main window, let me see. Ableton Link, don't know. Okay, so timing. Let's change the time channel. Okay. Yes, I think Ivan will be the guy to ask about TD Ableton. I will try to get more familiar with it. I don't know how it works very much. I usually just write my own devices, Max for Live, for doing that. But yeah. Okay. Oh, Nobile. Hello there. Session. Okay, screen. Okay. Okay, so no more questions, I see. So that is basically the overview of Preset Composer. I think you're excited about it as much as I am. I think it's a really powerful one. If there's no more questions, let me see what was the plan now. Yeah, actually Q&A. So I think it's quite long already. I don't know if how you guys are feeling. Any questions? Any comments? More comments about this so far? Is it too long now? Because I didn't explain 2 more things I want to show you guys, but I don't know if you guys are tired already. Let me know. Oh, nice. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, guys. Keep all right. Keep on going, you mean? Keep going. Okay, good. So I'll keep going. I have here one of my favorite beverages. So I'm good to keep going. Let's do it. Let's go back to the TDMorph. So what do we have here? Preset Manager. All right. So this is really the best quote I could find to define what the Preset Manager is. So it really behaves like this. So let me, while you read that quote, let me do this. Yeah. All right. Let's go back to TDMorph. Here we go. So before I told you that inside the TDMorph there is the preset manager, which is the heart of the whole thing. So what I didn't show you is that you could, for example, export all the presets that are here into a preset manager that is totally independent from TDMorph. You don't need the UI at all. The UI is always dumb. So what does that mean? It means that the UI has no connection beyond the high-level control to the actual data. So you don't need any of the UI elements whatsoever to access your data. And all your data is safe even if you delete UI elements. So that's the design of TDMorph. So for example, if I go here and I say preset manager, I can create a one from scratch. But before I demonstrate that, let me export the one that is in this container. So if I go to this cogwheel for the container one, and if I go to manager, you can export the preset manager inside of this thing. So I export it, then it's gonna create a preset manager that is totally decoupled from this UI. So it doesn't matter if you delete this one anymore. So all your data is here. So all those presets that we saw here, they are there. So why is this important? Because like I said before, if you create, for example, something like the preset composer, okay, this preset composer does not need this TDMorph at all, doesn't need it. Only need is a preset manager. So you can just drag and drop this guy here and it will work. So now you have inside, you can have all the presets that you have here. So now I have scene 1, as you can see. That's the preset that I have here, and you can compose your scenes. Scene X, scene P or whatever, and this will still work. So I'm gonna target this scene 1, and it's gonna work because, like I said, everything is inside here. The UI is totally done, doesn't really matter. So in this way you can access and share preset managers between you guys, or not, I don't know. But the main point is that it's completely modular. So why is this so powerful? Okay, now we're gonna go a little bit more deep into TDMorph. So we're not gonna use UIs. I'm just gonna use the preset manager. And let me create one clean preset manager. So I'm gonna go here. I can delete this. And let's make a preset manager. Oops. Oh yeah, it takes a little bit of time until you can clean that. So let's create preset manager. And that's the guy. We don't need that anymore. And let's say that I have some things that I have built, okay? Let's say I have a base with my stuff, like awesome stuff. And let's say I have more stuff here, more awesome stuff. And okay, why not one more? Even more awesome stuff. And all these three, let's say that we can customize the components, and let's just create some things, some controls to it. I'm gonna create, oops, control here for something. And I control this here for something too. Yeah, what I'm doing is not so smart, but whatever, just for showing you guys. Something 3. Okay. So now, as you can tell, these three things have different parameters, and I would like to control this from the preset manager. So how do you do that without the UIs? Basically, you need to use an opfind. The opfind is the most convenient way, really. Let's now filter this by name. So I'm going to look for everything that has, okay, for this example, let's just call this awesome, so it's easy to find it. Anything that has the word awesome in it. So all the nodes that have the word awesome in it. So are those three. And when you have those three, you need to enable here only the path. You don't need the other stuff. So as long as you have the path, this is going to work. Now you just need to connect these, the paths for the nodes you want to control. And this can be anywhere in your network, so then they don't have to be at the same level of the manager, as long as the opfind can find it. So you could search of other ones and merge them into one single dot from many different places, and you can have many different operators. So as many operators as you wish, you know, it doesn't really matter. You just plug it like there, and that's all you need. And here we're gonna select the parameter scope. So what are we gonna look for in these objects that we want to change? All right, so let's see. This parameter scope works. I try to make it work in the same way as the wildcards work in TouchDesigner. And yeah, I'm still would like to see if Greg is around. I ask him regular expressions support, because that's much more versatile, I feel. But anyways, this will work in the same way as the wildcards do in TouchDesigner. So I'm going to look for anything that has something in it. So all the parameters that have something in it. So I'm just going to do here something. And I have to choose now capture custom parameters. I'm not going to capture the built-in, because then I'm going to go into all this mess. And this thing is just going to try to mirror everything, but we just need this, really. Okay, so once I do that, if you see this guy, and you can here just randomize things, and it will randomize all the values that you have chosen. So I have chosen here these two, and if you randomize it, it works. It just works for everything you want, all the parameters you want. So you can just arbitrarily use or add parameters here. Let's say parameter X. Let's say this is gonna be I don't know, so some other parameter, whatever name, and then I'm gonna just capture, instead of looking for just something, I'm just gonna capture everything that is a custom parameter. So I'm looking at this guy here, and without doing any effort, nothing additional, this is gonna work because it just has the path. So it doesn't matter what you add, you're looking for them here, and they are being controlled by this preset manager, and it does so without any effort, so seamlessly connecting with any amount of objects you have here. So you can have 100 of them and just randomize it. And I think this is as efficient as it can get. I'm still trying to find optimizations for it, but it's really fast, so I haven't had any problems with it. And if you can tell, all of these tabs, they have everything you can do with the UIs, but they are embedded into this component, and you can access everything by scripting as well, so you don't really need UI at all if you don't want to. For example, here you can set presets, right? You can store presets. If I want to store one preset here, you can do it from the component, so you can just say store preset here, and this will get populated, so now you have 0 preset 0. And if I store preset 1 in some other state, so I'm going to set everything to a random state and store it here. Now this gets populated and it's 0 and 1. So whenever you move between these two, then you can just morph or jump. So if I press morph, it will morph to preset 1. Because I'm on preset 1, you don't see any change, I think. So there you go. Preset 1, morph. And it does so for every single parameter again. Okay. That is one way you can do this. So you can pretty much write a script if you want that says preset manager dot par something. So any of these parameters. So you can say jump, for example, jump dot pulse. And now if I choose here something, you can control this with scripts to jump. Whoops. Whoops. What am I doing wrong? Not a jump. What is called this? Jump to preset. Okay, so jump to preset. So now you can jump, as you can tell. So this is one way you could do it. But you can go inside. There's a documentation for this already on the making. Maybe I show you that so you don't get annoyed and you don't get angry at me for not making documentation. Let me just show you. Help. For example, for this one, let me put the window here. Okay, all the documentation for all the things will be listed here. So for example, for the manager, if you go there, these are all the things you can do with scripting. So not really accessing the parameters, but directly writing into the class. So you have all the properties, all the stuff. I try to provide a descriptive descriptive information about each of the things. So you can control anything and everything with code, and that is accessible for you as developers to play in any way you want. So that was my goal as well. So you can use your own tools and expand things. All right, I hope this is kind of clear, right? And like I said, this preset manager can be later plugged into anything. So if you want to make an animation from this, for example, you can just go here, create an animator, and the animator takes a manager. We don't need that one there. You can just drop this manager here and create an animation from it. Of course, when that works, because there's a bug now, but that's the idea. And all of these tools that I have here, if you notice, all of them, they take a preset manager, really. So if you the preset grabber or the preset composer, like I said, all of these, they expect a preset manager. So if you drop it there, they will just work, because that's really what they expect. So you see all the information popping up. So in this sense, this is really very flexible and modular, allowing you to build your own stuff on top of this preset manager, which is the heart of everything. Okay, let me see the questions. Every engine could have a preset manager. This is gold. Yes, I think so too. Okay. Hey Lucas, thank you. Yes. Some toys on the back. With the preset store the data types of each, is it possible eventually to rebuild a TDMorph GUI from a preset manager populated? Yes. Everything will be stored with data types. So let's go into this thing. Let me show you. Now I will not forget to switch. Haha. So if I go here, and if I go to the, where was that? Here, preset morpher, everything gets stored with types. Yeah, maybe not there because those are chops. Let me show you how you can access those. If you create, for example, a text and you invoke the preset manager, you can do this. You can ask for the presets. That's a property of the manager. And let's just read quickly what the presets, how they are stored, because that will answer your question more clearly than I can explain. So if you do this, this is what TDMorph, preset manager has inside. For example, for preset 0 has all this information, including the ranges that it finds on each parameter. So all the ranges that it found for these guys, which also will change if you alter them, of course. So if you select a different range, then it will grab those. That gets stored here, as well as the type. So there should be some, here, type. So the type is float. So in that way, yes, you can absolutely build everything from this preset manager, which is exactly how I did the whole UI stuff of TDMorph. So if I could do it, then you can do it. All is there, so you can use it and abuse it. That's the idea. Okay. Let me see, Rui. Yes, thank you, Rui. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I'm very happy with this guy, with the preset manager. I think it's a very convenient way for storing things and expanding things, and it's really powerful. So okay, that is the preset manager in a nutshell, more or less. Later on, if you guys are interested, for developers, I can do a very much more in detail how it works, how it's implemented, what's the logic, and so on. All right. Now, to end this overview, I want to talk about the patterns. So, before we jump into it, there's a question. The question is there an included method to reconstitute the UI from this preset manager? No, because the preset manager doesn't know anything about the UI and he doesn't care about the UIs. It only cares about values. So the UIs are totally something that it's built on top of the preset manager, and they don't matter at all for the data. And we will keep it like that because that's the most flexible way to do it. If you want to rebuild UIs, then you need to either create your own system, or you can use my system here, because the UIs get rebuilt when there's binding information. So you could see the methods inside the the elements container to see how I build the UIs and how they are stored. And oh yeah, there's another question. Yes, exactly. So let me show you the bindings manager so you can build your own UIs if you want, and you can understand how I am doing that. So let's see. That's a very good point. If you go to the main thing, let's create a container and let's add some presets like before. This and that. Let's say this one here. Or not, no. Wait, let me just do it from this other one, because this one is already mapped. So let's create just another one. This. Okay. So let's do this, whatever. Hey, why you don't like me anymore? Doesn't want to show me stuff. Okay, never mind. Let's just show you the manager. I don't know why I cannot create presets anymore here. So there's some bug there to be fixed. Let me see. Oh yeah, here you can go to bindings and you can press on edit. So when you do edit, then it will show you, that's why. Okay, so they are there, but it doesn't update the UI for some reason. So I need to check that. So if you press in the bindings, it will show you this table. The table will change to be more user friendly. I didn't do that yet because there were other more pressing issues, but as you can read, it contains the binding information, so the paths to where they are going. So you could pretty much do this. If you have this table, you can remap things by hand. So for example, noise 2 is now mapped to element 1. We can see that here that the owner is noise 2 and the element 1 is this guy called harmony. If you change this noise 2 to noise 1, it will automatically map it to noise 1 now. So this one now controls noise 1, not noise 2. And you do that by just altering the path here. So that works. And also this one. If you change the period, the harmony, the period, then it affects now noise 1. You can revert and affect noise 2. And if you can see, this is really all the data that is required to build a UI inside TDMorph. So if you can recreate something like this, you can make your own UIs based on my widgets or your own widgets if you want. That's up to you to decide if you want to create your own stuff. But in essence, this is all I'm storing. So if we look, for example, at one of the presets that I created, let me just show you the JSON file so it's clear. Where is that? Here. So this is the preset that gets created, and there's one key called presets that all of the elements understand because all of them look for presets. But for some things that have UIs, there's a special key called bindings, and the bindings contain all the binding information required to rebuild a UI. So if you can read the preset, the preset that you created, the JSON, you can see the keys, and they are interchangeable between elements, but they will only work to a certain extent, of course, because if you try to plug, for example, this preset that has binding information into the preset composer, let's try that. It will work for the presets, but it will not create anything because it's totally different functionality. But the presets will still be there, so that is interchangeable, so that's no problem. Let me, I hope this works. Actually, I didn't try. This should work. Well, that should work. That's the idea, because inside is really just parsing things that needs to parse. So let me just show you how that's done very quickly. So it's very simple. Yeah, here. He's looking, this specific object is looking for scenes. Now it failed because I asked him something that the dictionary doesn't have. So this thing, and they should be like here some try or some check to see if that exists. But in essence, it just takes what it needs. So it needs scenes and presets, and that's why it works, because I should only create what is available, and in that way you can interchangeably provide the presets that you store. So that's the plan. That's the idea. All right. So if I make a custom table, I could build a UI and bind from it. Yeah, you can make a custom table and bind it. Sure, you can do that. The bindings are also deeply dependable. So if you go to let's see, to this guy, for example, if you examine this, you can see what it has, and you can see that binded parameter is the data that this element needs to be a UI. So you can access that. Those are not read-only, but you can also write to it, and in that way you can create the UIs. That goes a little bit out of the scope of this overview, which I wanted to be a little bit more, well, not so deep. So let me just finish by explaining the last step, which is patterns. Yes, patterns. Okay, let's delete all this noise. So what are the patterns? Patterns are those things that I show you that you have when you do expert mode. You have these patterns here. So all those things, they are implemented in a library that I made, and like I said before, It's not really that I created this from scratch. It's more like a reverse engineering of the SuperCollider system. So let me show you how this works. So if you I keep opening and closing this thing because my train of thought is going. Maybe it has to do something with the beer I'm drinking. I don't know. Let's see. If I do patterns here, bam, then you will get a new little box, patterns. And this inside contains all the patterns that are available in TDMorph. So you can use it, again, independently completely from the UI and all the stuff that is there, so for your own purposes. Let me show you how that can be accessed. So if you reference this from some script you want, you do patterns. So let's just say P, okay, P for this thing, P dot pseq, P sequence. Then you just need to provide your array and a keyword. You should check the implementation inside, but basically this is the sequence and this is the amount of repetitions that this thing has. So this will create my my pattern. So I'm gonna call this pat for pattern. And then if I do this, for example, pat next n, and I ask for the next 100 values, then that's what I'm gonna get. So I'm gonna get all the sequence that this pattern has, all the 100. Whoops, next 10 pattern. Did I do this correctly? I think it's called like this. Let me see. psec. Yeah, that's the name. Sequence repeats. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think the naming is different here. Let me see. So it's called next 10. Yes. And this one is called. It should be next 10. Like this. Yeah. So there you go. Now, in this way, you can access all the patterns that I wrote for your own purposes. So you can generate values at will and so on. And this works for all the ones that are available. So psec, prand, white, p whatever. And then that's the point. So as you can see here, I have asked for 100 values and you have them here. And you can also ask for next, simply next. So if I do this differently, so if I do for I in range 100, you can say pat the next like this. And this is lazy evaluation. So it means that it's going to ask the values only when it needs to. Let's print this. And now you have all the values in the pattern. And it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 because that's the sequence that you have provided, and you're saying infinite. So you want this to repeat infinitely. If you say you want this only 10 times, then it will do it only 10 times, and for the rest it will give you none. So it will do the whole sequence 10 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 10 times. And this is of course arbitrary, so you can do whatever you want, right? So this is the idea with these patterns. Now what I'm working on, and why it's not complete yet, is, and it's gonna be really cool, you can put patterns inside patterns. So you could make a sequence out of sequences, and this repeats 2, and then this 1. So what this would do is the pattern would play a pattern that has these 2 values and repeats 2 times. So it will do 1, 2, 1, 2, and then move to 1. And this is great for value generation and doing really crazy things. You could do very easily fractals and things like that, you know, Euclidean rhythms, Euclidean distributions, stuff like that with patterns very, very easily. That's the plan, and that's how it's doing. So the only downside of this is you need to have this box here. You could create a global shortcut, sure, call it patterns, but I don't like global shortcuts too much. You could do now this patterns.psec. That's one possibility if you want to put it anywhere in your thing. But you can also do here. I'm planning to put this on a Python repository. Let's call it pat like this. because in this way it will be accessible for you without a box. So that's something maybe for more advanced users will be done as well. So this will create a pattern, and that's the idea, right? So I'm working, well, I already have this library, but I don't know if people want to download an extra thing for this thing. So I just made like a component for now. Okay, that's pretty much all, I think. Okay. Let's see. For last questions, well, the plan, what was the plan? Yeah, questions. Okay, good. Yeah, is integrating a lag a thing that will come to patterns within TDMorph? Sure, you can do that. Yeah, that's very easy. Just put a lag chop and you're done. So I can add that. Patterns. Any more questions? Ah, yeah, super stuff. Thank you. When do you plan to release 2.0? So, okay, the plan is to release it on, I would say, the second week of June, at the end of the second week of June. The bugs that are there are very few bugs at the moment, very stupid ones. So I'm trying to first get rid of the really embarrassing ones before I release it publicly as a beta still, so people can report, because I don't want you to think it's finished and so on, and then you try to use it and it fails. So there will be a beta period after the second week of June. And once I fix the less embarrassing bugs, which for sure there will be some bugs, then it will be the official release, I think, in July. But yeah, so from the second week of June, I think I will release it as a beta for everyone to try and use and report. The really important thing for me, guys, is if you can report stuff. If you can really help me with that, will be great. And where to do that, let me just show you. Maybe I will create a report myself, so you also see how it's helpful for me to learn about these things. If you go to the GitHub, I'm gonna put the link in a second there. So if you go to the GitHub, and if you go to issues, so this is the link you should use. I'm gonna put the thing here. Yeah. So if you go there, you can add issues. How to do an issue? So the most important thing is that you press here, new issue. This can be either a problem, like a bug that you find. It can be suggestion. It can be a question. But try to keep it very clear. And you can add here. So I'm going to add one of the ideas that you guys suggested today. Where did I write that? Here. So let's see. I want to take the one from Greg. He said it would be good to add possibility to change based on range 0-1. So this is not a good way to write it because I don't know what it is about. I will forget. So please describe it. Say, okay, this means how the parameter, no, when the parameter changes after morphing or while morphing. And I can say morph snap as percentage because that's 0.1, and then I know. You can assign here, you assign my name, all the rest I will do, but if you want you can assign the label. So just say what it is. If this is, for example, it's not a bug, this is also not any of the other things, this is really like an enhancement. So a new feature or request, you select the right label and that's it. The rest of the things I will do myself. So this I will assign myself. You don't need to do that. But it's important that you assign the label at least. So the label is really important. Then you submit your issue, and then it's on the system, and then I can look into that. All right. Okay. So more questions. We can't assign labels. That's unfortunate. I will look into that. Sorry. I'll see if you cannot assign. Maybe there's some setting I need to change. Is it optimized for TD on OS 6? Yeah, unfortunately not optimized in TD for OS 6 in the sense that I have not tried on a Mac extensively. I do have a Mac, but it's a very weak Mac, so I don't know about that. Would be great if you guys can give it a shot, but it should work nonetheless the same, because all the stuff in there is really mostly Python code and chops and things that in both systems they work. I also took care of writing things with like curves and things like that with a pixel shader, because I know compute shaders are not compatible. Also, it makes no sense to use compute shaders here. That would be the only thing I can imagine that would not be compatible, but it's not the case, so I expect it will work fine. Yes. All right. Any last questions? Any last comments? Yeah. Doesn't seem like. Oh. Nice. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Finishing the stream now. I'm super glad you came. Please get in touch. Please use the issue tracker. I will post it also in the link here. And yeah, looking forward for suggestions and things. Keep in touch. Oh, gracias, Juanjo. Please have a beer with me virtually, all of you. And yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.